So, how many of y'all have any familiarity with Bubba the Monster Hunter? Okay. Cut. Bubba is a former University of Georgia Bulldogs football player who now hunts monsters for a living. He is exactly what you think he would be, given Bubba the Monster Hunter. Giant, tattooed, ponytailed redneck with a big truck and a big gun. And no, it's not based on me. I did not have this many tattoos when I started writing Bubba. I was fat, did have long hair, and did have a truck. I'm still fat, have long hair, and have a truck. So, in this scene, Bubba has challenged a Sasquatch for leadership of the tribe. And it is a trial by combat. It is not going to go as Bubba expects. This is available in my book, Grits, Guns, and Glory. I do not have any copies with me. I sold them all last night. But if you do like Bubba, I do have the brand new Bubba Volume 5 with me. When I was bare to the waist, I stepped forward into the big circle of big feet, Bigfoots, and rolled my head from side to side. My neck made some scary popping noises left over from college football, and I looked across the bare patch of dirt at Clagteen. He was huge. I mean, Sasquatch kind of implies a big mother, but this dude was big even for a Bigfoot. It was like Chewbacca mated with the ultimate warrior, and out comes something that was half Tasmanian devil and half grizzly bear, and all pissed off. "We fight without clothes, stupid man," my furry opponent yelled from across the ring. "Unless you got a mouse in your pocket, I don't see no we over there, 'cause I'm keeping my damn breeches and shoes on. You might be used to running bare ass through the woods, but I ain't giving you another advantage just because I was brought up civilized." To use the loosest possible definition of civilized, Skeeter muttered. I snatched the Bluetooth out of my ear and tossed it back to land next to my shirt. I didn't need the distraction of Skeeter's commentary while I was trying to keep from getting absolutely friggin' destroyed. Clagteen must have decided that enough talking was definitely enough, because he lowered his head and charged me. He was like something out of the legends, and not the ones about unicorns and butterflies either. I sidestepped him pretty easily and gave him a swift kick in the upper thigh as he ran past. He let out a yelp and turned on me a whole lot faster than I expected, and I barely ducked under his big old looping left paw. I dodged left as his other fist came swinging up past my ear in an uppercut that would have broke my jaw if it had landed, and I found myself on one knee right in front of his waist. It wasn't my proudest moment in fight, but I've always said if you can't win clean, then fight dirty. So I lashed out with my right fist and I nailed the Sasquatch right in his ginormous balls. I hit him as hard as I could right in the jewels, and I think I felt one of them squish under my fist. All the breath went out of Clagteen, and he dropped to both knees in a huge puff of dust. I stood up, teed off on his head like Adam Vinatieri in a fourth quarter, and kicked the nasty bastard in the jaw as hard as I could. I heard a snap as Clagteen's jaw broke, and he actually flew all the way back to his feet before collapsing flat on his back, looking up at the stars, cross-eyed. I turned and mugged for the crowd for a few long seconds, holding my hands up over my head and jumping up and down till I caught sight of Barry gesticulating wildly in the back of the crowd of Sasquatch. After a second or two, I got over being proud of myself from telling him apart from all the other Bigfoots and stopped to celebrate. What's the matter, Barry? You act like... He ain't out, is he? Barry shook his head right about the same time a sledgehammer hit me between the shoulder blades. I splayed out face first in the dirt and then immediately tried to cover up as more boulders started bouncing off my back, ribs, and shoulders. I rolled over, trying to keep my face covered, and realized that all those huge rocks were Clagteen's fists. And all I'd done by breaking his jaw was made him mad. He straddled me in a full mount, moving right towards a picture-perfect ground and pound, except there was no ref to save my ass if he knocked me out. There was no padded ring. We wasn't getting paid. There were no TV cameras, and he was 400 pounds, a naked Sasquatch straddling my waist. There were so many things wrong with my situation, I couldn't even begin to list them all. After about 10 seconds of getting the ever-loving shit pounded out of me, I decided to play dead. It wasn't much of a ploy since I could barely hold my arms up, and more, I was pretty sure at least 3 ribs were broken, and it felt like I had another concussion. Clagteen saw my guard drop a little and took the bait. He sat up on his knees a little bit to get a better leverage and reared back for a killing blow right between my eyes. That's when I did something I never thought I'd do in all my days. I grabbed Clagteen's schlong and pulled. I yanked on that Sasquatch wiener like it was the last lifeline on the Titanic. I pulled that ding-a-ling like I was Quasimodo ringing every damn bell in Notre Dame. I tweaked that twanger like I was in a tug-of-war against Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, and half a dozen elephants. It was the most uncomfortable thing I'd ever felt. And I've been stabbed, burned, beat by a troll, and kissed by Mary Sue Jenkins under the bleachers at a middle school football game. His woolly bat was thick and rubbery, like all them nature shows say boa constrictors feel, but with more hair on it. And when I latched onto that Johnson and pulled with every ounce of my remaining strength, Clagteen's eyes bugged out like a wolf in a Tex Avery cartoon. He tried to stand up and back away from me, but I was latched on like a lamprey. And all he did by standing up was to pull me to my feet. And there is no way having 350 pounds of bleeding redneck dangling from your wang doodle feels good. Let go of me, Clagteen screamed, and his breath of a million dead things and no crest almost made my beard fall out. But I gave his gherkin a quick jerk upward, and he slammed his mouth shut and stood up on tippy toes trying to relieve some of the tension. I scrambled to my feet, never letting go of his hairy hammer. Now let's talk about this, I said, trying very hard to only look in his eye and ignore what was in my hand. We've got 2 options here. One is you surrender and declare me the Chiron core. I was probably proud of myself out of all proportion for remembering what the hell the Bigfoot word for boss man was in that particular moment. Or we go with option number 2. What is option number 2? Clagteen asked, although the words were muffled on account of his broken jaw and the fact that his voice was pitched a full 2 octaves higher than normal, thanks to me yanking his 11th finger sideways anytime he looked at me wrong. I don't think you'd like option number 2. Option number 2 is I yank your little shaggy savage here right off by the roots and turn it into a walking stick like they do bulls peckers at that big-ass flea market in South Carolina. Then I'll leave you to bleed to death, dickless and disgraced in Lower Dam, Alabama stand. And nobody wants to die in the shithole suburbs of Mobile, Alabama. Clagteen moved in close to me, and I tightened my grip on his abominable snowman hood. He winced, but knelt in front of me. Well, at least he tried to kneel, but I was still holding on to his one-eyed wrinkle beast. So that put a little hitch in his giddy-up. Anyhow, he knelt down as best he could and mumbled something. What? I couldn't hear that. I said, I dropped his pecker and knelt down, hoping it wasn't all a ruse just to get me to drop his dingus so he could kill me. I surrender, he muttered. His voice was back to its normal range and only marred by his broken jaw. Glad teen surrender. Bubba is new Chiron Gore. I raised my hands in victory. And Barry came over to give me a bear hug, lifting me clean off my feet in his enthusiasm. I usually would have made some smart-ass and half-homophobic joke about gay monsters, but since I was the one with more than a handful of brown bushy behemoth not 2 minutes before, I let it go. This time. And that is the scene affectionately known as Squatch Dong.